Howdy, y'all. I'm Paul Thompson, and this is My Project Hell, where for the next 20 minutes, Kelly and I are going to throw out the corporate lingo and talk no nonsense project management, giving you plain solutions to real project problems.
And I'm Kelly Schockler, and in this episode of My Project Hell, we'll take on project management related hot topic. Then we're going to go into the coach's corner with a guest project manager and see what we can help them come up with in their project hell situation. Our goal for today is, like it is in every My Project Hell webcast, it's that you can find one thing to take away and start using in your own PM practice to make things better for not only you, but for your stakeholders. And for those of you who are live with us right now, we've got that handy chat feature that you can use to share your own advice. So chime in anytime, and Paul and I will have an eye on that. And then if you're not with us and you may be tuning in via our YouTube channel, just drop us an email if you've got any burning questions at myprojecthell@gmail.com. Okay, now we've got that out of the way, Paul.
So our hot topic today, right? Pros and cons of being a contract PM. And I know there are dozens of ways to get into being part of the gig economy. Apps like TaskRabbit or sourcing firms such as Kforce, Volt. There's plenty of opportunity for you to find a business model and tap into that contracting work life. But this hot topic, we're going to address a little bit higher level pros and cons, right? What are the pros and cons of working as a freelancer? And, you're being paid based on work completed rather than working for the end client as a full-time employee. Kelly, what are some of the pros and cons?
Well, I love this topic. I think it's a good topic right now because there's a lot of folks out there who are considering going into contracting or consulting, some going to work with a firm or an agency, or maybe you're setting up your own business and trying to consult under your own banner, or as they say, shingle. So I've done both. I think you have too, Paul. Been a contractor and consultant for someone else and have done business under my own banner. And I've also been a full-time employee, or what we call an FTE. So yeah, I've thought about the pros and cons many times. And one thing that can be a huge showstopper, I think, for us as contractors is if you're working for a staff aug company or under the auspices of a company where they're going to find your next gig, is sometimes that doesn't happen and you can be put on what they call the bench, the place where contractors go when they're working, and then all of a sudden they're not because their engagement ended and there's no engagement for them. And so you can be on the bench for a couple weeks, a couple months, until maybe you're finally cast away. There's no guarantees that you have uninterrupted work. So you've got a plan for those periods of not being employed or having no full-time income and possibly not benefits. It's a huge consideration. So one of the cons is you might not have work. You got to figure out how much you're going to put in your contingency fund when you're not working. And if you're not a big saver, this is a huge con for you. And then also that idea that contractors are often the first to go, right? When headcount and budgets are reduced. So there's that.
Yeah, no, those are tough cons. And freelancing can be great if you're built for it and you can save, right? But it also means, just as you pointed out, right, you are business development. You're always having to keep engaged with your network, keep talking with people. For the longest time, one of my biggest mistakes is I would go into a client, go heads down with them, right? Work on exactly what they needed, bring in resources, have it all taken care of, and do a great job. And a year or so later, pop back up when it was done and go, okay, what's next? And I realized my network had moved on. People I knew at one company had left or gone off on their own, things like that. And all of a sudden, I was starting at ground zero. So you always have to put in time throughout your week or month and just assume that there's some biz dev days that you're just going to have to throw in there and constantly mine that what's next, even if you don't need it yet. So you always
Yeah,
have to
it
stay
can be
on that.
exhausting too,
Yes.
right? Just fatiguing. But then, okay, so on the other hand, though, let's look on the sunny
Okay.
side.
Let's look on the positive side,
Yeah, let's
right?
look on the
Fun
positive
stuff.
side of contracting and consulting. And I appreciate the autonomy that I get from driving my own schedule, and I can find more flexibility when I've been contracting versus an FTE. And so, because companies have to walk a fine line hiring contractors, can't there's some things they just can't dictate what you do when you do it, right? They're playing with a fine line, and so I find that I get a bit more autonomy around my schedule, and then I can take more time off if I want. I'm not locked into a PTO schedule, but the caveat is if you're hourly and you don't work, then you're not going to get paid. And
Right.
so I personally find myself playing this weird game like, okay, I'm going to take these days off and then I got to make it up somewhere else. And that's just me. But
Yeah,
that might be a topic for another episode for a deep dive.
You quickly start to put the value on your time, right? If I take today off, it's costing me 8 hours worth of time. Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. And that kind of brings to some of my pros, right? One, you are going to get paid more. Typically, you're going to get paid more than an FTE. But that has to cover all those downtimes. It has to cover your time off. So when you look at it over a full year and all the things that happen, it kind of comes back into line. But initially, you are going to be paying, and you should definitely be charging for those times. The other thing that I personally find a huge plus is I don't get caught up in the day-to-day politics of the organizations I'm working for. And sure, as project managers, we deal with the politics of the enterprise, the organization, as we're doing the project. But I no longer am focused on the little, I don't want to call it sniping, but a lot of the gossip and a lot of the water cooler talk, for those of you old enough to remember going into the office and having a water cooler that you sat around.
You're dating yourself, Paul.
I know. But you're not caught up in that. You can really step outside and focus on the project and focus on your trade and bring all there is to the project and really manage it well. So that's one of my favorite pros.
Yeah, so just a few things to keep in mind. And also remember, in this moment where you're at, the pros and cons are what they are for right now, where you're at in your life and your career, but your pros could become cons and vice versa down the road, depending on how you change, how your career change, how your circumstances change. So, you may try contracting, decide you don't like it, go back to being an FTE. One mode is not better than the other. So if you're considering going into contracting or consulting, make your own pros and cons list before you jump into it. Make sure it's right for you, because it's definitely not for everyone.
No.
So, and then as Paul said, find a company that's got a business model and structure that you like and fits you.
Yep.
All right. Okay, let's jump into Coach's Corner, because we're keeping this to 20 minutes. Centerpiece of My Project Hell, a famous Coach's Corner, where we feature a project manager in their current hellish project situation. And today we have Tim with us. Tim's a senior project and program consultant at a Seattle tech firm, but he's not really with us right now. Like many of our guest project managers, Tim is on the job wielding his fire extinguisher, and he was gracious enough to join me a few days ago to share his situation and recording. So Katie, go ahead, tee up the recording so we can hear Tim's situation for ourselves.
Hey, Tim, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for the pre-record. I know you're busy and taking time out of your day-to-day to do this. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the time.
Sure. So Paul and I are curious, what's going on in your project hell?
Well, right now I'm consulting through a partner to one of their clients as a program manager. I have one of my team members as a project manager and one of the partner project managers as part of the team members. Everything's going along well, but the partner's project manager is not meeting the speed and intensity of the project. And I'm wondering if there's methods or advice I can get to help motivate that team member.
Okay. Seems straightforward, yet we know in the background it's not. A couple questions for you. How long have you been noticing the kind of not matching behavior or the less than ideal behaviors?
Probably in the last 2 months as things have gotten a little more intense with the project.
Okay, and what types of things are you noticing?
Not driving to any specific dates. This particular project manager is responsible for the partners' work streams, and they seem to be more of a friend to the engineers than a advocate for the project.
Ah, okay. That's good to know. Good insight. And what types of things have you done so far, tried, or the partner overseer, manager of the PM?
Yeah.
What are some things that have been done so far, if anything? Maybe there hasn't been.
Some education from the manager has helped, as well as our team is basically setting up spreadsheets and fill in the blank type of things. But what I'm running into is that's taking a lot of our time away from project tasks.
Sure. So the PM's manager has tried a little coaching, but you're not sure about the scope of what that coaching's look like. That's probably a private.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you have any idea how receptive the project manager is to coaching, just from what you know, based on what you know?
Just from a feel, they seem perceptive to it. Just a matter of whether it actually turns into execution or not is my concern.
Okay. All right. And I have one last question for you. If everything happened that needed to happen to get this person to engage more and be more assertive and work a little faster, what would it look like? What would the impact be to your outcomes?
I think it would have great impact in meeting the dates that are set by the client or goal dates for certain milestones, and just driving towards those as we get more and more work from the client.
Okay. And you think what would it do would it be a good thing for team morale, do you think, or the other project team members? I'm sure
Yeah,
they're seeing this too, right?
absolutely. I think that it would be really helpful for morale as we know, as milestones are checked off and completed, it's a sense of achievement for everyone on the team. And the more that happens instead of dragging, it would be very helpful in getting things done and feeling good about getting things done.
Okay, good. Yes, that's what we live for, right? Checking off the done items. It's a great sense of accomplishment. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions I have. So we'll go back into the webcast with Paul in the Coach's Corner and see what we can come up with.
Outstanding.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Wow. That is a charged one, isn't it, Kelly?
Yep. I'm having deja vu right now.
So for me, this is a hard part about being a contractor. You're working with client or partner staff, right, that don't report to you, and you're kind of the outsider. And especially if you're working with a partner that's pulled together a bunch of people for this project, you're still having to kind of make it look like one big happy family, even though underneath is all dysfunctional. You can't really let that spill out. So as the project manager, you're sort of kind of the head of the household type setup here, right? Since this person doesn't work for you, Tim, it's going to be tough, and you kind of need to step out of personal. And by that, I mean, frame your conversations around what is needed for the project, right? From them and what they are missing and why they are missing the mark from your perspective, right? Have the conversation with them kind of off to the side in a safe place. Work with them, but you're also probably going to have this conversation if you don't see any improvements with their boss. And this is where ideally only focus on one or two top items. Otherwise, you start to sound like a whiner. And also with those things, be crystal clear about what it is you need to have them improve with. Have concrete examples, right? When we saw this, this, and this, you didn't do the following that we needed, like that. Because remember, you're here to help. And oftentimes explaining why and giving examples really helps to make things better, or at least brings clarity to the situation for everyone.
Okay, so I'm with you, Paul. This is about some good old-fashioned coaching, which I'm passionate about. Love that, and a little positive psychology too. And if someone on the project team needs some help getting motivated in a direction, the honor usually falls on us as PMs, like Tim. Like it's falling to him. As a lot of times, for whatever reason, the managers aren't doing that. So in Tim's case, program manager consultant, not the PM's manager, but he needs to step into this. So Tim, it sounds like there are a couple things that this PM needs to do to get strengthened in order for the project and the stakeholders to realize better effectiveness in the outcomes. Sounds like assertiveness in making decisions, taking the lead, one of the core PM skills to drive projects. So maybe you've already done this, but this is all about that relationship that you have with them. And I was happy to hear that they are receptive to some coaching. And so, starting out with a casual conversation, talking about the good things that are happening in the project and how they're contributing to that. And then moving into some of the greater project struggles and highlighting the impact of that kind of slow moving pace and what the actual impacts are, not blaming them, but, at a high level. And saying, I notice you're having a hard time asserting yourself as a PM to get the team to a decision point. Can we talk about that? Asking them for their permission first and not just diving right in. I know sometimes I do that. I just think they're going to be all about talking about it, but actually they don't want to. And asking, can we talk about this? What do you struggle with in being assertive? And ask them how they might move from being passive to more assertive. Share some of your own struggles and stories, what you've done in the past that's helped you. And the key really is not telling the person what they need to do, but asking them a series of questions to help them discover for themselves what they need to do. I often find they know what they need to do. It's in there. You just need to help pull it out into realization and awareness. So it's going to take a little time. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, a few sessions, a few check-ins, maybe a cadence that you set up, and approach them as a partner and a guide, because you're there to help them shine. That's really what it is.
Those are great coaching tips, Kelly. And I wish I would pay attention to some of those sometimes, because it's hard to get some of that questioning versus telling. So great advice. On the stick side of the situation, right? We've done the carrot.
I can count on you to bring the stick up.
Well, at some point, it might not be getting better, right?
Right.
I hope it does. And their boss either isn't capable of helping fix it, or just it's not their priority, whatever. And the situation sort of seems to just be deteriorating further. And at that point, you're really going to have to just hold that person accountable. If dates are missing, tasks aren't getting completed, we, as project manager, we need to call that out, right? Now, don't be a tattletale, but we need to be transparent. And remember, project management, the job is all about bringing things into the light so they can be addressed. And while sometimes that can be complicated and, feel like it's really, really hard to point out that somebody's not doing their part in this project, if you've gone through the process, especially if you take all the steps that Kelly talked about, right? You should then be able to say, this is not getting done. Here is why. Here was responsible. We need to address this differently as an overall project. So remember, start with positives. Start with the carrot. Bring in coaching. Put on the opportunity for them. Work with them. Work with their boss, right? Help their boss know what they need to coach this individual with and why, and build a plan together that both of you can support this individual on the project. And then if that doesn't work, you're really just going to have to kind of make it crystal clear to the stakeholders, specifically the program owner, things like that, and move forward there. So great question, Tim. We hope this helps. You know, if there's any other type things, we'd love to hear how it turns out, find out if you turn this problem around. So let us know.
Yeah, we want to hear. myprojecthell@gmail.com. Okay, that's our 20 minutes. Thank you to those PMs who joined us live today and those who found us on our YouTube channel and decided to give us a listen. Paul and I offer free problem solving time with each of us. So we've got links to our calendars in the post-show email where you can, when you hit a brick wall, like what I'm evidently hitting today, you can give us a call and we can help you get off of that wall.
Yeah, all right. And, you know, Kelly and I really enjoyed doing this. We hope you guys enjoyed watching. Join us next time when we'll have another great hot topic to explore. And if you would like to participate in Coach's Corner, drop us an email at myprojecthell@gmail.com. We always looking for project managers who are looking to apply what they've learned, help others through sharing their experiences and working with us. All right.
Exactly.
And in the post-show email, you're going to find a survey. Please fill it out. Those are our lessons learned so we can make this better and better every week. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.